Ever wonder why your recent Google search is showing up on your Instagram account? Or why Target is sending you coupons to your favorite items? Well, security expert Bruce Schneier sheds light on how the government and big companies use our electronic data from our cell phones and our internet and our computers to track our interests and our movements. Big data, from text messages to Instagram likes and everything in between, becomes extracted to form data mining that turns into useful information that companies and the government can use. Credit bureaus and marketing companies are purchasing this big data from companies all over the world to sell to other companies to get to know their customer base. And as data is getting cheaper and cheaper to store, most of this data is not being deleted but is being saved forever. One of the big examples that he discusses in his book is from Wells Fargo and how they use data mining from zip codes to steer potential customers to neighborhoods based on their race. It's also caused price discrimination, not in the traditional racial or gender discrimination, but targeting vacationers versus business travelers for airline ticket prices. So they're charging more for different types of customers based on their need. So I'm not sure that that's really the best use of the data. David and Goliath, Data and Goliath, is very eye-opening. Data is being saved and sold off to companies. We know this from the Facebook lawsuits that are going on all the time now. However, I don't think that the government has the time and energy to track everyone all the time. The vast majority of the country are not terrorists or drug dealers or human traffickers, so the amount of money it takes to survey is not realistic. However, I do think that they are tracking us in some form or fashion. Another big subject that he discusses in his book is the fact that companies don't do much to protect the data for their customers, such as GPS is very easy to track and very easy to hack. Bank information is always in the news about getting stolen, and customers don't really have much of a choice but to go with these big companies that are on the internet and have all of their information out for hackers to retrieve. So I do think that companies and big businesses need to do a better job of protecting the data that they have for their customers. One big aspect of data that has come out in recent years, well, in our generation, I guess, is after the terrorist attacks of 9/11, the Patriot Act was signed into office. They made it easier for the government to spy on Americans and gave them authority to monitor cell phone and email communications. While this may seem kind of harmless, it's really turning regular citizens into suspects as it expands the right of the government to spy on citizens with little or no warning at all. It's good for keeping us safe, but it's a little big brotherish. So I'm not sure that this is the best use of the data either. Although the book was written back in 2015, we are still dealing with some of the same issues today, such as Russia. Some of the things that he talks about in the book are actually happening today. As technology has advanced, tracking cell phone users has become a reality, just like he talked about in the book. An article from The Garden that I recently found, titled "How Can U.S. Law Enforcement Agencies Access Your Data?" exposes Facebook and Apple and how it was hacked recently to obtain information from users by forging an emergency request to its customers. Just as he describes in his book, companies are not doing enough to prevent such of these attacks. Law enforcement works with these companies to obtain information from cell phones, but it's not doing a very good job of protecting all this information from hackers. Just as he described in his book, there's some ways that we can prevent this. And one of the main ways that the government is stepping in is to create customer privacy laws. So Utah actually just became the fourth state to pass such a law. And according to an article from Morgan Lewis, this law will increase customers' rights related to their personal data and restrict the sale to third parties. By passing this new law, it will increase consumer privacy by allowing customers to opt out of target advertising and increase security for consumers' personal information. So the government is doing something to help decrease the hackers and to deter bad things from happening with our information. However, the government is still going to be there. But if you're not doing anything wrong, do you have anything to hide?